We have met so many amazing dogs on our adventures, and today we're going to do a bit of a trip down memory lane, revisiting some of our favourite episodes. My name's Sarah Jones. Welcome to Dog Jobs Australia.
Not too far from the picturesque coastline of the Sunshine Coast is one of the key habitats of an iconic Australian animal. A 30-minute drive from the popular tourist town of Noosa, you'll find plenty of native bushland that the humble koala calls home. But like many native animals, they're under threat, and that's where Maya comes in. Along with her trusted companion Romaine, she tracks the local koala population as part of a program that hopes to help save them. So, Roman, we're here with Maya, who is the dog that started it all.
Yes, Maya is, we call her the old queen of the pack. She's been with me from the very start in 2011, when it was just pretty much me with a crazy idea and her delivering the crazy idea.
And it's been going strong ever since, it seems
yeah,
like.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maya's not the only employee working around these parts. She's joined by Bear, who's become quite the international celebrity.
Bear is an interesting complement to Maya. So we've got our main dogs are really important to us because they help us map koala habitat. So they focus on the scats, the job that I was doing, very poorly a decade ago. So they do that very efficiently. So we know where koala live, and it's really important to protect their habitat. But there are times where you actually want to find a koala, and it was in particular during the wildfire that we had last year. Like when an animal is injured or sick, or you're kind of worried for their safety because there's been a great big fire, mapping their habitat is not enough. And so this is where the idea of having Bear came from. It's like, okay, can we get someone, again, relying on their nose to help us find koala? Bear's got the hardest job of all of our dogs because koala can be very high in trees, and the scent goes all around, and it's much easier for a dog to find the scats and say, yeah, it's here, than for a dog to say, yeah, somewhere here, I can smell a koala, and then us human have to find it. And
maybe you might miss it, and he might
absolutely
be thinking 80%. It's right there.
I know, and so that's very frustrating for poor Bear because as we discussed, like 80% of the time you can miss koala.
We're a lot less sophisticated.
So it can be there, and Bear is like, yeah, I can smell it, it's here, and if you can't find it, then you can't play.
Reward him,
Yeah, and so that's the tricky part, but we always go around with koala fur, and that's one of the scent he's trained on.
So that's what he was trained, the scent that he was trained on.
And we had a little pad that we rub koala
because koalas have that, male koalas have a scent that they mark, he's picking up on that, is he?
Absolutely, yeah. So all that create a picture in his mind of what the target scent is. Yeah. And so when we can't find a koala in the tree, then we put a little bit of fur, and he can indicate on that and still get to play.
And still get a reward. Oh, that's nice, at least. It's a beautiful day on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and I've only just begun to get to know about all the efforts underway to help protect local koala habitat. We're hoping to spot a koala, and I've been told Bear is the best boy for the task. So we've found koala scats, so we do know that there's koalas around somewhere, so it's time to bring Bear in.
Exactly, so it's kind of a teamwork. We deployed a habitat detection dog first. We know we're in koala habitat, so now let's try to find a koala.
Okay, let's see. All right, we've found something.
That's it, that's his indication.
And you can see
his bum just
like
to the top of
there's a
that
little
tree.
white on him because of the sunlight.
It didn't take long for Bear to find a koala, and after I spent a short while trying to see what he and everyone else was looking at, I spotted it too. A tiny, furry, grey bump lost in a sea of green. It's easy to see why Bear's work is so important. So this is a really good sign that we've found an actual koala here.
Absolutely, we are stoked because it's not every day that we see the koalas.
Yeah.
They're not that many around anymore, so super cool. Koala are very hard to find.
Yeah.
They're cryptic, what we call, so they're very good at hiding. Even though they're a big animal in a tree, you would think, oh yeah, easy to spot, but not at all. They don't make a sound.
Yep.
They camouflage in the foliage, and
they want to be right at the top quite often.
They're
so
often
covered.
at the top. They often put the tree trunk between you and them so that you can really not see them. And basically, when we looked at how good humans are at finding koala by eyesight, we noticed that they were really bad. So they can miss up to 80% of the koala that are present in an area just by looking for them. So obviously,
that makes your research really hard if you're going through trying to find out if koalas have come back, but you can't even see them.
You can't even see them. And that also makes your research very inaccurate.
Yes.
Because if you miss them more often than you found them when they're there, then you can't really trust your results. So a lot of the time, ecologists actually look for scats. A bit less glamorous, but koala poop a lot, about like 80, 100 pellets each day.
Wow.
So there's a lot of them to be found, and they stay in the environment for a while. So your chance of finding a koala compared to finding a scat is very different.
Right.
So I very rapidly opted for looking for scats.
Yeah.
So that was more efficient, but still, like, we can imagine you spending your time in the bush like this. Koala scats are very small and brown, very easily obscured. And it's also quite boring.
Yeah. There's better things you could be doing with your time.
Yeah, you kind of, but it gives you a lot of time to think. So I had months in the bush looking, through the litter for those little pellets. And that's where, the brain goes and it's like, surely there's an easier way. And those pellets, because koala rely on eucalyptus, they're very strongly eucalyptus scents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you actually can smell them. Like, it's really powerful. So instead of looking with your eyes, you could smell with your nose. And obviously, we are not very good at sniffing.
But dogs certainly are.
And we're very good at working with dogs, so it's a very great team.
Speaking of great teams, Romaine thought it might be a good opportunity to take Maya for a walk. So off we go. Is this area an area that she's been to before?
No, so we've never been here, but we've talked with colleagues at Queensland Koala Crusader, and they're really keen to know whether there's koala here in case they can use this property to release rehabilitated koala.
Oh, wonderful.
So we're kind of trying to see whether it's good koala habitat. So if Maya found cats, then we know koala call it koala habitat, right? So that's really good to release the koala in a place where they could find tree and food tree and maybe as well some colleagues.
Is there an issue about territory and territorial behaviours and that sort of thing?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have too many koala release in one spot in case there's any competition. You have something, Maya?
She found something.
You can see the tail
going,
the tail's
and now
wagging.
she
drops. Good girl. You've got something, Maya girl. Oh, show me again. Show me. Yes, good girl. Good
She's
girl.
really good at pointing it out, isn't she?
Yes,
She lets you know.
We train her to do that because sometimes she can smell it, but I still can't see it. And she pointed it at me, and I just moved it. There you go. So this is fresher than what we found before.
Yeah.
And so very entertaining, but we do smell the scats to see how fresh it is.
Yeah.
So it's not very smelly. So it's not super fresh, but it's much fresher than the one we found before. And you can see it's still covered a little bit in patina. It's not sun.
They're very
bleach or
dry,
anything.
aren't they?
Yeah, very dry. They reabsorb a lot of the water, the koala, because their food, they get most of their water from the leaf and from leaking when it rains, the trunk. So it's not a huge quantity of water, so they reabsorb a lot of it.
Oh, it's a tough life, it sounds like.
Yeah, we often say they're living on the edge, like they've got one of the poorest diets you can imagine. And it's not just poor in terms of nutrient, but it's also a lot of toxin. So not only they don't get a lot of energy, but then they have to
Expend that energy. Yeah.
exactly, into detoxification. So the poor koala doesn't have a lot of room to play with, and I think that's why sometimes they're a bit vulnerable. Because they kind of can't go very long. Like there's no buffer for them. They need to find the tree and eat every day, really, to keep enough energy coming in.
Yeah, and they need to eat quite a lot of leaves.
So they're full. They're full of leaf. Like the intestine of the koala is so much longer than the human. Just a lot of it goes into digestion, and it's very interesting. But they've got a very strong, microbiome with a lot of bacteria that helps them, getting the nutrient out and breaking down the toxin. So it's a whole ecosystem, the koala, really.
Amazing. To find out more about the work Romain and the team do, go to usc.edu.au/research. More Dog Jobs Australia after the break. I've made my way to Sydney on the beautiful Darling Harbour to pay a visit to the Australian National Maritime Museum. Here, an employee by the name of Bailey has been working hard keeping the seagull population of Sydney at bay. Yep, that's right. Meet the museum's very own Assistant Director of Seagulls. So I'm here with Adrian Snelling, who is the Head of Security here at the Australian National Maritime Museum. And of course, Bailey, the star employee, is joining us.
So we've had Bailey here at the museum for about 4 years now. Bailey was a rescue dog from Australian Working Dog Rescue, and we brought Bailey on board for seagull chasing.
Fantastic, and that was your idea, I believe.
It was. So we've tried a number of initiatives to stop the seagulls from landing on our vessels. And I did some research into that, and we found that the Canadian airports were using dogs to chase seagulls off their runways, and we thought it would be a good idea to try something different and something that's environmentally friendly. And just happened to be that my boss at the time wanted a border collie, and I've always loved border collies, so and they just happened to be the right type of dog, they seem, for the work that we're looking for.
And Bailey's a rescue, that's right?
He is, yeah. Australian Working Dog Rescue helped us with Bailey. I got in contact with them, and they happened to have Bailey in foster care at the time. He'd been looking for an adoption, and he just worked out perfectly for us. He loved chasing birds already, and that's what the foster carer said, and it worked out straight away for us.
And seagulls, why are seagulls such an issue here at the museum?
So we've got a number of heritage vessels, and obviously the paint on them, the bird's poo, takes the paint off. There's a number of ways of cleaning it, but obviously, if you can stop the birds in the first place from landing on the vessels, then you don't have that cleaning issue. So cleaning issue, chemicals with the harbour, and also just the time it takes for staff to be doing that. And WHS issues, so work health safety issues with bird poo on the wharves, and a slip hazard, and the amount of birds we had was causing a lot of issues with all that.
Right. So you tried a few different tactics before Bailey came along?
We did, and he seemed to be the best tactic in the end. But yeah, like high pressure washing and things like that was just a constant.
Yeah, I know you had CDs at
we
some
did,
point, doing a bit of reflecting.
So the CDs, the fake birds like eagles, lasers, sprinklers, all different things to try and stop the birds from coming here, but they would stop for a little while and then come back. So
yeah, I'm sure a fake bird is no comparison to a real dog.
No, that's right. That's right.
And I believe that Bailey actually stays with you quite often. Is that right?
He does. He's part of the family, and my kids absolutely love him. Spoil him rotten.
So Bailey's not working right now, but he's still got half a mind on the job, right? We can see him checking out the seagulls as they fly by.
He does. He doesn't stop. Not only seagulls, but rainbow lorikeets or any sort of birds. Anything that makes noise. No, he doesn't discriminate. He likes all sorts of birds.
So I have heard that he's so focused sometimes on his job of the seagull scarer awayer that he's actually run straight off that pier. He
has. So he was one day chasing the seagulls, just watching where he was going, and just fell straight off. I guess we all have those moments, but
I mean, if anything, it speaks to his dedication to the job, doesn't it?
Exactly right.
Yeah, probably
that's right.
Employee of the month that time.
He did, yes, absolutely. Not many employees of the month, but Bailey seems to get it more often.
I mean, I can understand that.
That's right. Good boy.
And he's 7 years old, but we can see in his face he's got a bit of grey coming through now, so he's getting a little bit older. Is he starting to move away from the seagull duties?
He is, yeah. We've started to, slowly get him towards retirement. Still chasing the birds here and there, but more of a mascot and, morale booster for the office these days and family dogs. So slowly getting away from that. And I know there's talk about getting another dog at some stage,
Yep.
but for Bailey, it's probably that age where he can start to slow down now.
Yeah, he can just bark at seagulls on his own time.
That's
just
right,
just
exactly.
as a hobby.
Exactly.
That sounds
exactly.
great. He might be nearing retirement, but I have it on good authority that Bailey still has plenty of seagulls left to chase. In fact, we're about to see him do some chasing right now. Bailey's official bio states that he has a love of life and a fierce suspicion of seagulls. Don't we all? If you happen to visit the museum and you spot Bailey wearing his yellow vest, he's likely hard at work and on patrol. Bailey is a true professional, so he likes to limit his pats till after he's clocked off for the day. Not only does Bailey keep the seagulls at bay, but he also works pretty hard improving the working lives of his many colleagues. That includes his best workmate, Mona. I'm here with Mona Hussain, who's a Client Services Officer here at the museum, and I hear that you have a really special relationship with Bailey.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
I first started working here a year ago, and I was just walking in the front of the museum, and he was with a security guard, and it was love at first sight. He rushed up to me almost like a high five, and since then I've been taking him for walks on my lunch break, and yeah, me and Bailey are friends.
That's wonderful.
Great affinity for animals generally, but Bailey is a special friend of mine.
So yeah, I hear that you actually have several cats.
I do,
Yeah.
yes. I used to think I was a cat person.
Yeah.
I have 4 cats, and we've had, pets before. I never owned a dog personally, so he's my surrogate dog.
Right, so he's
Yeah.
the first dog you've had that really strong
That's right, me
connection
personally.
with.
Yes,
That's pretty magical.
I like to give him little massages. Like humans, he gets stressed, so little massages here, and it sort of makes him less stressed and happy. And
I'm sure that stress relief goes both ways
It
at the
does.
office if you're having a hard day.
That's right, to go take him for a walk in the fresh air with the beautiful surroundings we have at the Australian National Maritime Museum. We go to the park, and if he sees a stick, he's away. He just loves sticks. He's happy to roll around in the grass, and same here. Not that I roll around in the grass, but I'm happy to take him for a walk there.
So obviously you're not always getting to hang out with Bailey during the day at your work. What does a regular day look like for you?
Unfortunately, I don't always hang out with him all day. I would like to. So when I get to work, first thing I do is we have to go through security to check ourselves in, and Bailey, that's where he stays normally. And I always say, hi, Bailey. I just pat him on his little paws.
Yeah.
And then after I have my work done, I go on my lunch break, and I like to take him for a walk.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. That distresses me as well, because
Yeah.
my job is dealing with a lot of customers,
Yep.
and it's a good job. But sometimes there are some testing customers,
Yeah.
and we have to remain polite, obviously, with them. And so my way of de-stressing is taking Bailey for a walk.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. And obviously we're right here in Sydney Harbour. Does he have any fans? Does he ever get recognised out there on the wharf?
Yes, children especially. He's got his Instagram. He's on there, and they ask specifically, "Is Bailey here today? Is he working today?" And I check with security, and if he is, yes, we let them know. But when I take him for walks as well, he's a bit of a celebrity, and they come up to him and they'd like to pet him. And he's very good with people, us humans.
Well, he lives a pretty charmed life, it sounds like.
He does. Bless him. Bless him. They do say a dog's a man's best and a woman's best friend.
Yeah.
Yes, and Bailey
Absolutely.
definitely fulfills that role.
Well, it is getting close to lunchtime now, so do you mind if I join you on one
I would
of these
love
walks?
to. Let's do
go.
that. Come on, Bailey. Yes. Here you go.
While I take Bailey for his lunchtime walk, it's a good time for a break. You're watching Dog Jobs Australia. On a drizzly winter's day, I found myself on a truffle hunt here in Red Hill on the Mornington Peninsula with my new four-legged pals, Maddie and Thomas.
Let's go.
So I guess the issue with truffle season being in winter is you might have to put up with a little bit of rain like we're getting now.
We do. We've even had a truffle hunt in the hail.
Really?
Which was actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get wet. And we were under umbrellas, and the whoosh of the hail was fantastic.
Well, it's a really atmospheric environment here. You've got the sort of rolling valleys with all the mist around.
That's right.
But it feels quite magical.
It does, doesn't it? It's fabulous. So we're walking down here through some oaks. There are 4 different varieties of oaks here. The one that's the most beautiful is the cork oak. There's an example there. And in Europe, those oaks are harvested, the bark, to make cork for wine bottles.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you can feel the
you can feel how
corkiness
soft
of it
yeah,
as well.
They're beautiful trees.
And so these are trees that have been through that inoculation
They
process
have
you
all
were
been
talking about?
inoculated. So at the 12 months old, when they're just little trees. So the other thing we're looking for when we first start to know the fungus is in the soil is this moss and the dead grass around the tree. See that circle of dead grass?
And what does that tell you?
That means that the fungus has attached to the roots, the rhizomes have attached to the roots and is active in the soil. And the tree likes it because it's killing its competitor, the grass and the weeds, so that it gets more light, it gets more water, more minerals, and the rhizomes need the roots of the tree to be able to produce the truffle. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Right, so the truffle helps the tree,
The truffle
and the
helps
tree
the tree,
helps the
and
truffle.
the tree helps the truffle. And the sign of the ring of dead grass is the first evidence at about 3 years that the fungus is active in the soil. Doesn't mean you'll get truffle, but it means the fungus, the inoculation has worked. Come on, Thomas, good boy. Come on.
So what happens on these truffle hunts? What does the experience look like?
Well, the people arrive. We take 15 in a group, so I don't like there to be too many people, so they get a real experience. And we walk down here, and I talk about the growing process, and then we find the truffle, get the dogs working. It takes them a little while to get their noses in, and then once they find truffle, people can get down and smell a truffle.
How exciting.
And for nearly everyone, it's the first time they've actually seen a truffle in the soil. And
I'm sure it's the first time many of them have seen a truffle at all.
It is. Yeah. Now we're in the area where we might find truffle.
Okay,
Right.
so we should keep our eyes
We
peeled.
keep our eyes peeled.
You were saying that there might be a little telltale lump,
We might find a telltale lump.
but
We'll
really
see.
this is Thomas's time
This
to
is
shine.
Thomas's time. Thomas, are you going to find some truffle? Come on.
Just having a think so far.
You're going to find some truffle?
And when he finds one, does he have a special alert that
Yes, he'll
to
tell
show
me,
you?
and you'll see him drop. And he's got to drop and tell us where the truffle is.
Nowadays, we use dogs to hunt for truffles, but that wasn't always the case.
So tell me, when I think of truffles, I often think about truffle pigs.
Yep.
Why have we got dogs and not pigs?
Dogs, the Italians introduced dogs into the truffle industry. Pigs were used in France, and pigs are attracted to truffle, particularly the female pig. It smells like her mate.
Right.
And so she'll go along a forest, and if she smells it, she'll dig it up and eat it.
Right.
Because
So you'd
it's
have to be quick enough
You
to
have to
wrestle
be
the truffle
quick.
out of the pig.
Yep, out of its mouth. And lots of old truffle hunters from France have lost bits of their fingers because you've got to put your hand
Yeah,
down
and
the
pigs
pig's
are
mouth,
pretty-
and they're
pretty
strong.
ferocious.
I mean, a fully grown pig's 150 kilos, and very hard to wrestle one of those around Truffier. So the Italians who've used hunting dogs for years introduced dogs, and we train the dogs to be interested in food that we carry, so dog treats, and they're not as interested in the truffle.
Right, so they don't actually want to eat the
No,
truffle
they
at
don't
all,
want to
they're
eat
just doing the
truffle.
task.
Yeah, they're doing the task. If they're a bit enthusiastic, they can dig, and then they'll scratch a paw mark through the truffle, and of course it's devalued it instantly when that happens. But so you want to keep the dogs away from the truffle. Come on, Thomas. We're going to find a truffle. Come on. Find truffle. Find truffle. Find truffle. Find truffle. Find truffle. Show me. All right, so that's what he's got to do. He's got to get down like that and point with his nose as to where the truffle is. And then I have to go down and see if I can find it.
Oh, okay, so you wouldn't give the reward straight away?
No, because Thomas has been known to pretend
Okay.
that there's a truffle there.
It's a good strategy, Thomas.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can find the truffle, hey? Okay, so now we have to dig and see if there's a truffle here. No, there's not a truffle there. So you can see that it's a lot of hard work and it's not always there. It's fine. We'll go back down. We'll go into the back section where I'm sure there's more. Come on, find truffle.
Well, thank you for taking this trip down memory lane with us. We just had so much fun shooting those episodes. There's a brand new episode next week, so join us then on Dog Jobs Australia.